Willie D. Live.
And so what I say is we take our dollars out of that tax system because what we think the government is, they're feeding back the dollars we gave them. Let us keep our dollars. We will regulate our own affairs here. And the gap that you talked about when you have a mother who has 5 children and they have to survive, that's where you have civil society, which is to say, gentlemen like you, gentlemen like myself, theoretically, you've been rational enough in allocating your capitals, whether it's time, emotion, your talents, and your money, that you're able to rise up. You're an efficient allocator of capital, which is to say, if you observe something in your community, in your tribe, you would allocate capital to help or to fix it in their civil society, especially churches. You know, churches are well known for philanthropy and community service, and that's what fills the gap. But what we must stop doing is believing so deeply in black inferiority and white supremacy that we think that we cannot do for ourselves. That's a very dangerous idea. And so what I'm proposing is not that we leave these people to the wolves. What I'm proposing is that we allow the wise men, the elders, the successful men in our tribe, we take care of ours, they take care of theirs, you take care of yours, and we'll be fine. And what will happen is that there will be a different level of shame of making those poor decisions where you're in a house with no man, or you decided to have more children than you can afford, and it will reorient our values and our foci. I'm telling you, I grew up in a ghetto, and I was the poorest kid in the ghetto, and mostly I kept getting evicted. It's mostly because, you know, when your parents have a habit, even if they got the Section 8, they still ain't gonna pay that $15 that they gotta pay. And so I've seen it from the very bottom. And I know that if black kids in the ghetto can still afford Jordans, and I know because I got made fun of because I ain't had none, so I know everybody else had them, right? If they can still afford to smoke marijuana, if my mom could afford to have a habit, and my mom's a lovely woman, she got swept up in the 1980s, she's not the only one, right? So if all those things are still affordable, we know that there's a little bit of give. And we know that there's a lot of churches, especially here in the South, that can pick up that slack. If you can give 10% to your church, the question is, what you giving back? The problem is the churches ain't gave back enough. And many of them have failed, not only the churches, the mosques as well. And so I think that we need to truly believe in ourselves and do for ourselves. And I speak directly of capitalism. A lot of black folks are like, oh, capitalism doesn't work. No, it works. You need to understand it. You know, it's like the girl who can't dance. She blames the DJ. Nah, baby, the DJ is spinning them records, you heard me? He playing that stuff. You can't dance. You just need to learn how to dance.
We talk a lot, not just me and you, but people in general talk a lot about how women allow the government to play them and trick them out of position with their husbands and the father of their children. But you know, there's 2 sides to every coin, and that takes 2 to tango. You know, we were forced out of the house because otherwise the woman wouldn't have been able to get the benefits. But we didn't have to leave. A lot of us left. Some of us stayed though.
Sure.
And those who stayed, salute, they don't get enough credit.
Right.
They said, you know what, I'm staying. The woman said, we riding this out together. Goddamn, if we sink, we're gonna sink together. All of us. But many more people, you know, they were desperate and they fell for the okie doke, not realizing the damage that was going to be done long term to our families. So what type of responsibility does the man bear in, you know, the degradation of the black community, you know, and the destruction of our communities?
Good question, and the women love this particular question, you heard me, because this is where they get to be like, no, it's really that. And it's complex because it's 100% the man's fault. But when things go wrong, the woman suffers at a greater level. People ask me, Marquett, why do you talk about female promiscuity so much? I say because if I'm promiscuous and the woman is promiscuous and she gets left with 4 kids that maybe they're mine, I go off and start a whole new life. You heard me? Like from scratch. Find a younger woman, better looking woman, smarter woman, wealthier woman, and just act like that never happened. Whereas the woman generally doesn't do that. She has to live with the bad decisions that she made and the man made. So when I discourage promiscuity in the females, because you're going to suffer at a greater level. And chemically, the oxytocin that's released in the body from that pregnancy is going to bind you with that child. You might be pregnant with that child and like you can feel life within your body, and the child is being nourished from your body. You're connected at a great level. Meanwhile, this is in the club right now. You hear me lit. You're trying to see what he could see for the night. So it's a totally different reality. And the problem is that black women really are liberal white women. So they're just the acolytes of liberal white women. So they're living out liberal white woman ideology, thinking and behaving as though you're the same as the man when really you're not. The consequences are wildly different. You're going to age different. Your options on the marketplace of dating and marriage are different. And the fact of the matter is, black women, they become educated, and which is to say they go to university and they become more like liberal white women. And they have this silly ideology of like, I'm gonna be independent. It's like, love, you don't have the same history as the white woman. When the slave master was dominating, I trust he was dominating the woman as well. And he was a real patriarch over time. When we were here in the hells of North America enslaved, you weren't getting dominated by the black man. What you need to get independent from, love? When you came out of slavery, were you being dominated, for decades on end by the black man? No, the black man was barely in control of himself. He wasn't dominant in the society. And what do you mean you want to get out and be independent? Were you a homemaker? Were you a stay-at-home mom? Probably not, because black people mostly never had incomes like that to sustain that life model at large scale. So you're basically rebelling against something that never was real in your life. And this is why I think people hate me so much, is because I have the nerve to come out with new ideas. Most of what you'll hear black women in particular say is something you heard a white woman say to them at university. They're just regurgitating it.
I'm gonna give you some pushback on.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna give you some pushback
Talk to me.
On the generalization.
Okay.
Because you make the generalization about black women a whole lot, right? And a lot of what you say, don't get me wrong, I actually agree with a lot of what you say.
You're a wise man.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you say. At the same time, the generalizations I always say can be dangerous, because there are people who make generalizations about black men that we know are not true. And I know that, and I know you're not talking about all black women. No. But when people hear you say, well, in black women, people they think, I'm talking about the people who suffer from cognitive dissonance, right? Okay. They go like, oh, he's talking about all black women, and I'm not like that, because I'm sure there's a black woman listening right now. I'm not like that, and I'm not like that. But you're saying, is there a particular group of black women that you think of when you say black women? I'm
glad you said that, and I'm very fortunate to have a lot of really impressive black women around me. Wealthy, successful black women, obedient, good listeners, very helpful. They really want to play their role. So that's my good fortune. When I'm speaking of black women generally, I'm talking about things we need to remedy. So you're right, it would be nice if I would balance it with praise and acknowledgement. They're very educated. Even myself, I was raised by a single mother. Of course, she had a lot of help and did have a stepfather, and she came from a big family, because families, women used to have kids back then, right? So my grandmother had 9 children, so I had a lot of uncles. But my mother, if you judge by the product, I say she did all right, and I appreciate that. But there are a great many struggles that she endured that I think probably we don't want to see repeated. And when I say black women, I'm speaking to a majority. So that means that a generalization would be appropriate and sensible. So if you look at the fact that 70% of black families are illegitimate, that's the majority. So the majority of black women are making poor selection decisions with regards to the men they allow to impregnate them. And these are the times that they carry the child to term. Many times they're aborting the child. So the decision making is very bad. Female intuition is not a real thing. But the only reason I discuss it is not to disparage black women. I discuss it because you cannot route your way to an outcome or to a goal or destination unless you know where you are. And many of us are lost, and we don't know where we are. And I'm definitely taking an iron fist to the situation because we're in such a bad, low place. Like you may have seen a clip with Suki Hana in the United Kingdom, and she was walking around like, "I want my fill in the blank stretched. I'm gonna eat an N-words backside."
No, I
see it?
hadn't-
You
I hadn't
lucky.
seen that.
Yeah, so she's saying it, and people are looking at her like, "Word." And then when you correct a black woman, they'll say, again, you have to read the subtext. When you correct a black woman, so it suggests that you're correcting a black woman who needs correction. There are many of them that are in pocket. You hear me? Like they're doing what they're supposed to do. But when you correct an unruly one, they'll say, well, why are you always minding our business? Because you are my business. If I'm your protector, if we are a natural pair, the black man and the black woman, you didn't show up here independent. We're a natural pair. You are my business. I am your protector, and I am your leader, and I will manage you. And that's how it has to be. We really got to go Taliban out here. It's that time.
Is that something that should be more in-house or something that you should take a megaphone to? Because not only are the black women who need to be corrected are listening to that message, the people out there who stereotype black women on a daily basis and go, yeah, see, even the black man is saying it. And Marquett is an educated black man, and even he's saying it. And he's not just talking shit, he's backing it up with data and facts.
Yes.
So that could easily get into the ear of the wrong person and then it could actually encourage them to disparage black women. You know, do you ever, worry about, I don't like to say worry because men really don't worry.
Okay.
We concerned about things, but we don't worry. But does it ever concern you that message is landing on the ears of uncivilized mutts?
You know what? My good fortune is that I was raised by black folks who mostly love being black. My grandmother was a very dark-skinned woman from Lone Oak, Arkansas. She grew up picking cotton. Probably till about the 5th grade, I thought she was an actual slave. You heard me? I thought she was like a free slave. But I say all that to say, no, for real. And one day I came home like, Grandma, you wasn't no slave. She was like, but.
Can you explain why you thought that she was a slave?
So my grandmother, and one of the reasons I think that I make sense when I speak, one of the reasons that I have character and I know who I am is because people took out the time to invest in me as a child. My grandmother was retired. She walked me to school every day. You know how much time you have to talk to a child when you walk them to school and then you walk them home from school? How was your day? How did you feel?
How long was the
what
trip?
happened? Probably about 35-minute walk each way.
Each way,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
So when you have time to do that, it builds up the self-esteem in the child. It also infuses your values in the child, which is why my values are old world values, because they came from a woman who came from the old world. But anyway, she would tell me, especially when you complain, boy, when I was your age, I was picking cotton on my daddy's farm. And just in your mind, because you learn all this stuff about slavery, picking cotton, you was a slave. And that's pretty much how she lived. She said, I dropped out of school in the 3rd grade to pick cotton from my father. And she did, this is a fact. And even with her low level of education, she was still able to buy a house in San Diego, had 9 kids, raised them just fine. Just fine, major air quotes. We can get into that another time. But point is, when we talk about what other people are thinking when they look at us, when they listen to us, the Black American is the most influential ethnic group on the planet Earth. They're always going to watch us. They're always going to emulate us. They're going to want to dance like Michael Jackson. They're going to want to dunk the ball like Michael Jordan. You heard me? Name any of the Michaels. We're legendary. They're always going to watch us. But I tell you what, I don't care what they think. I don't care what a white man or woman has to say about me or my culture. I don't care what Latinos or Asians or Arabs have to say about me and my culture. We're going to lay down law here. We're going to establish order among our people. We're going to state what the standard is, and we're going to stigmatize deviation from the standard. And when everybody gets on track, it's not going to be about what anybody says. It's going to be about the demonstrated competence. It's going to be about the goods being delivered. So they might say, oh, he has a harsh word for this or that person. But one thing, if you actually check my background, everything that I talk bad about, I also invest in.